Is Mayor live from Manchester, New Hampshire, here on Monday, and it is the 35th anniversary of freedom for Ukraine, freedom from Soviet dictatorship, freedom from genocides and starvation and complete corruption by the Soviet monsters. And it's been 35 rocky years for Ukraine. But I should tell you a little story. I feel like I was somewhat there at the beginning. Two very good friends of mine, one, my colleague in the Reagan Justice Department, Robert McConnell, and his wife, Nadia. Nadia is a Ukrainian American and a very skilled person. She was involved in helping to draft the Ukrainian new their constitution, and that was in 1991, I believe. Could have been 92. And I had a summer house down in Oyster Bay, New York, and my two little babies, Andrew and Caroline, and they had two children, and their children were my godchildren, and they had been back and forth to Ukraine working on a constitution, and they were getting a little R&R, and I asked them to come to our summer house. We had a big pool, we had a beach nearby, and they did, and they stayed with us for 2 or 3 days. During that 2 or 3 day period, it got extended because there was a hurricane. And we got locked in, and she was working on the Constitution over the phone. In those days, more difficult than today, with people in New York and in Kyiv. And I saw her draft, and put a lot of the constitutional provisions into play. And the great hope of the Ukrainian people for democracy, like was going on throughout Eastern Europe, Poland. I remember that really well. I was somewhat involved in that. My daughter-in-law, Zavili, tells me about Lithuania, where she comes from, where she is right now. And those countries are fabulous, by the way. They understand our freedom better than we do. And they put together this great constitution. Years go by, and I make my first trip to Ukraine. I become mayor. I make my first trip to Ukraine probably 10 or 12 years later. And it's really been a rough first 10 or 12 years back and forth with semi-dictators, a president who allegedly chopped the head of a journalist off. And I remember the CIA briefing as if it were yesterday, and this is can't be possibly classified now. It basically said you can't trust anybody in Ukraine. The entire government is corrupt except for one person, and that was Viktor. I always get his name wrong. Yushchenko. Viktor was very trustworthy, very honest. His wife was an American from Chicago. He was a very, very well-educated, I think, a doctor of economics, and from a previously a very established family, and just a pure patriot. And according to the CIA and John McCain, who was a real expert on Ukraine, who I consulted with before I went there, he said the only one you can trust is Viktor. The rest of them are all, he said, they're all corrupt. They are all corrupt. And I took it seriously because I had great respect then for the State Department. It was my good friend Colin Powell, and I had enormous respect for John McCain. This was before I ran against John for president. I had more respect for John after I ran against him. So I took that seriously. But I did think, when somebody tells you that, you think, oh, come on. Well, they're doing that for a point. They can't mean that. Well, I got there. Sometime I'll tell you the whole story. But by the time I was finished with 4 days there, I had lost my security. I was trying to get around Ukraine all by myself. I was almost detained and not not able to get back to the United States for Thanksgiving on time, because I had insulted the president. I wouldn't go visit him because McCain told me to stay away from him. He's suspected of murdering, among other things, this reporter whose head he chopped off. And the reason he couldn't come and greet me, I spoke to every prime minister of Ukraine up to that point. They did a dinner for me, and I got to give a speech to all of the prime ministers of Ukraine. You can't imagine how many there were, because the presidents, including Kuchma, used to get rid of them like, prime minister, prime minister, prime minister, prime minister. So the place was packed with prime ministers. And I gave a speech on security and probably other things. And the president wasn't able to come. So I did some digging and I finally got the word from our embassy that the reason he couldn't come was he was in the hospital. And he goes into the hospital about once every 4, 5, 6 months, but because he claims he has an illness. His illness is simple. He has to dry out. He drinks so much, he becomes stumbling drunk, and they put him in a hospital for 2 or 3 days, and then they bring him out, and then he's okay. So luckily, he wasn't going to be at the dinner. I would have to take a picture with him, and you won't have a picture with this guy who may eventually get convicted of murder. Now, look, in politics, you don't do a background check and everybody take a picture with. So I've had some embarrassing pictures, just like everyone has had. But I wanted to avoid it and all this other stuff. So I go through my whole thing. I have another dinner, and I'm sitting next to Victor, the guy who is the one savior of Ukraine. And Victor and his wife and my wife are sitting together, and they're getting very friendly because she's 100% American and from Chicago. And he and I are having a great conversation. And he said, why don't you come over to my place for dinner? I have a beautiful, beautiful collection of armamentarium. I had to go look it up. I didn't know what that was, but I said, yeah, I'd love to see it. Like, I'd love to know what it is. And we had my stepdaughter with me, and she was just enamored of the whole place, and she loved Victor. So I said, no, I'll bring Whitney. And he said, yeah, she's a lovely young lady. We could educate her on Ukraine and everything. So we decided on the day that I was leaving to go, because I didn't have a plane until 2:00 in the afternoon. We spent the entire morning with him because I was finished with all my duties at about 8:00 at night. Gets to be 8:00 at night. My duties are finished. And up to me comes one of the officials of the government. He said, come with us now to meet with Mr. Kuchma in the hospital. I said, I don't know if I'm comfortable doing that. So that isn't a question of being comfortable. You have to come because you're going to see that Victor character tomorrow who's a traitor or whatever the hell he is. I said, he's not a traitor. He said, well, that Mr. Kuchma decides who is and who isn't. So I looked at my head of chief of security, John Houvain. I said, John, when did my contract end with the people here? He said, about an hour ago. I said, I'm here on my own now, right? Yeah. As a free American citizen, right? Yeah. Well, you tell Mr. Kuchma, I'm sorry, but I don't have time to go see him. And they said, well, you better not go see Victor tomorrow. I said, what? What? I thought I was in a democracy. I didn't say, I didn't use any curse words. I just said, okay, I'm going to do what I want. I get up in the morning and my security people are all gathered together with 1 or 2 very nice Ukrainians who are helping us. And they said, Mayor, you don't have your security anymore. And I don't know if we know where we're going. He said, but these 2 people who've become now almost like lifelong friends, these 2 people, because I had plenty to do with Ukraine later on, will show us around. So we went to Victor's place. Beautiful, beautiful house apartment kind of thing. Armamentarium is the Middle Ages, Crusades, stuff that they wore. It's fabulous, by the way. And Whitney loved it. And we had a great view from the apartment. And at one point, Whitney's looking outside, and there were all these men out there with suits on and little things in their ear, you know. But Whitney says, "Sir, it's very impressive how much security you have." He says, "Whitney, I don't want to get you alarmed, but they're on the other side." I don't have any security. They won't allow me to have security. That's all of Kuchma's people.
Those are the other guys.
They're here because of your father. Well, step for your father. They're here because of your father. They want to make sure he gets the hell out of this country, or they're going to probably try to prevent him from getting out. And then he went right back, and I went right back to calmly discussing it. Poor Whitney was a little upset. And we had an unbelievable conversation. The man eventually, let me tell you the rest of the story, the man eventually got elected in an election that was a complete cheat. They poisoned him. They tried to kill him. No doubt Putin did that. He denies it, but Putin did it. He lived, but he became completely disfigured for a while and had a very rough time his one term in government. And they really, by disabling him, they really destroyed him.
But he by all accounts, he was like a charming guy, right?
A brilliant guy, charming, handsome, tall, and honest as the day is long. And everybody in Ukraine respected it because really, really, I know this is going to sound strange, they want to be honest. And of course, the people aren't. The people, the oligarchs and creeps in Ukraine have stolen enough money from Ukraine that it could be one of the richer countries in Eastern Europe because it always had tremendous wealth. It has, it's a fabulous agricultural country, and it's a country that possesses an indescribably large amount of minerals, including the most important critical minerals that we need now. And the people who get wealthy get really wealthy and steal it from everybody else, which includes, for example, today there is an article, an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, written by a former prime minister, which sounds very impressive. Yet Yatsenyuk. Yatsenyuk was the prime minister when Joe Biden bribed the president of Ukraine. Not only that, Joe Biden mentions him in the video. He said, "I straightened everything out, getting rid of the prosecutor with the president and with Yatsenyuk." That's the creep who wrote the article today. A wonderful article about Ukrainian freedom. Zelensky knows the whole story of Biden's bribery. He could probably give you, without any doubt, the offshore bank accounts that allegedly exist from Burisma. He also probably has an obligation to recover the 100 million plus that his predecessor took from Ukraine, but he covers it up. And one never knows how much he's getting. Now, do I strongly favor Ukraine against Russia? Yes. Do I wish they could throw Russia out on its ass, and hopefully will? Yes. But am I going to tell you that they're an honest government? Of course not. And am I going to tell you that all the money that we sent to them for military purposes was used for that? I would be shocked if it was. I mean, I know it wasn't. So life is more complicated than because you favor their ideology and because you love the people, becoming a slave to whatever idiocies people use. In fact, if you really love the people of Ukraine, you stand up against these creeps. But too many of our American politicians either play along with them and then, worst of all, make a lot of money with them. So Ukraine, I love you. I hope that the success that you're having now in the war, which is back and forth. I mean, they're at a point now where although they have benefited from an 8-to-1 ratio of death, probably even casualties, but death in terms of the military, the civilian numbers are disproportionately high, meaning Ukrainian civilians versus Russian civilians. Like just over the last 3 days, you could count officially about 22 Ukrainians killed by bombardment and only 2 Russians. Now, let's balance that with the fact that Ukraine may have done the more important damage. Humanitarian damage to Ukraine, horrible. But they took out major facilities in 3 urban areas that allow you to produce electricity there. And they are taking out their Amazon delivery service, which is as critical to them and more than our Amazon is. And also, the military uses it because they don't have. You can tell that the Russian military is 50 years back, right? So they depend on Amazon to deliver their stuff. Well, about a third of it's gone now, maybe more. They're hitting every warehouse they can. Meanwhile, the Russians are killing people.
Wait, are you telling me that Amazon operates in Russia?
No. They threw Amazon out.
Okay.
About 10 years, and they built their own. Fairfields, they call it.
Okay.
And
so,
Fairfields
so
is
that's
now,
what's being hit.
Fairfields is to Russia what Amazon is to the U.S., except it's utilized more by the government than we utilize Amazon.
Well, believe it or not, our government utilizes Amazon and Amazon Web Services. They're one of our top military contractors.
We have a backup. They don't.
Oh, yeah. Certainly.
It's all that. In other words, they're not moving things around by military transport the way we are.
And I have to think their data centers are probably made of old barnwood and stuff, right?
Can you imagine what would happen to the United States if, let's say, right now, 1/3 of the delivery centers were down?
People would riot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting 4 things from Amazon today.
Oh, yeah.
And we just got he and I love Amazon. We get our little trinkets from Amazon. Although we found a camera store now also.
Oh, yeah. That's good. It's always good to find a local camera shop.
Maybe I should ask the people to give us advice on whether we can get the 2 lenses fixed. I read up about
it. We will. I think that.
I think we can.
Yeah, I think we can. We got some lens issues, but
I think we have to go to a person who's an expert in lens fixing.
The old Germans are experts.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, so what else you got on your list?
Let's go over the big. Let's go over the big race.
Well, I want Mayor. If you guys wanted
now, I don't know if you can show this, but right now it's 53 Repubs, if you count McConnell as a live human being, to 47 Democrats, right? But McConnell never shows up. Hasn't shown up in 4 or 5 months. And you're wondering, why do the Republicans keep him? Somehow, I don't know why, actually, because the governor, they say they keep him because of Trump. They don't want to give Trump, but Trump doesn't get the appointment. The governor does. Governor Beshear gets the appointment in Kentucky. And Beshear is giving him a hard time. In fact, he's scoring points. Beshear is calling for a meeting with McConnell. As the governor, look, I hope it isn't because I have very, very bad views of McConnell, but the governor is entitled to have a senator. I know when I was mayor, I used our 2 senators a lot. I had 3 senators at various times. I had Moynihan for the entire time, and then I had D'Amato and Schumer, and they were Moynihan was the concept guy when we needed legislation like fighting the line item veto and that sort of thing. But for delivering the goods, nobody better than Al D'Amato. And when he was, when he wasn't a traitor to being Jewish and America, in many ways. Schumer was fabulous at it too. Not as good as D'Amato, but good.
Now, is it too much to like want to live in a world where the state and local governments have a good relationship with the delegation in DC?
Look, I had personal feuds with Al. Even during the personal feuds, I could call him and say, Al, New York needs X, and we're getting screwed. Everybody else is getting it, and we're not. That's all you had to tell him. Doesn't matter if he was angry at you, whatever. You mean it's going everybody else, but not us? They're effing us? I said, yeah, okay, that'll end.
Yeah, and like help the people, right?
Schumer, also same attitude. But now, in fairness to Schumer, he was dealing. He came in and he had a year left with Clinton, but then he was dealing with the Republican administration. But in great credit to D'Amato, he was getting that from Clinton. He was pushing the Clinton administration, and effectively as hell. So you need people like that. So,
well, and if you're a state like New York, you have to have a good DC presence and a good working relationship with, like, you know, your federal partners.
I had a terrific working relationship with Clinton.
Yep, and you can tell the states that have a good Washington presence and a good effective one. That's important.
And it didn't mean that I didn't oppose him on certain things, which he understood, and he me. So 53-47. So every 2 years, as you know, roughly 35 seats are up, right? 33 to 35 seats, because you got to get the 100 elected on a 6-year basis. So right now, there are more Republican. 34 Democrats are not up and 31 Republicans are not up, which gives the Democrats a little advantage, right? So if you start off with that raw number, the Democrats are winning 34-1. However, right now on this chart, which comes from Inside Cook Political Report, with Nathan L. Gonzalez and Larry Sabato's crystal ball at the University of Virginia. You tell me how good that is. So now they're telling us which states are safe. Safe Republican, okay? Safe Republican. We have Idaho. I don't know if you can see. Can you put this up?
I'm working on it.
Well, I'll just count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 safe Republican. Okay? Democrat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 safe Democrat. Now, how about the next one they have is leaning and leaning strongly, but they don't seem to make a distinction between those. So leaning, for Republicans, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 leaning Republican. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 is a weak lean Republican, a Democrat. 6 leaning Democrat. So that's 18 and 15. So Republicans right now have somewhat of an edge.
So one of our big ones obviously is going to be Maine, Susan Collins.
So two of the big ones are Maine and Michigan. They consider Maine and Michigan for Republicans. If they can get Maine, if they can keep Maine and turn Michigan, they're probably going to hold on to it.
Well, certainly if that happens. The only problem is that's not a guarantee necessarily. Like, we're going to have to do a lot of work in this.
It's not a guarantee. So Maine is a weird newcomer against a state that has become somewhat Democrat. but where she keeps pulling elections out. Now he's ahead by a small margin. And in the past, she's overcome much bigger margins than that. Now, does she still have the magic? Does her relationship with Trump hurt that? Does her distinction with Trump help it? And can she do the magic she did before? I think that's a toss-up, that one.
Do you want to see?
And Mayor, as you've said previous.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay, so right now, Kalshi has it priced that it's going to be 68% Troy Jackson and 32% Susan Collins.
Way off.
That's exactly right. This one's going to be close.
But you have him with 68% chance of winning.
Can you hear me?
He's got about, if anything, he's got a 51% chance of winning.
Can you hear me?
What do you think, expert?
Can you guys hear me, Stephen? Is the volume not on?
We can hear you. Go for it.
But we're going to keep.
Okay, I've been trying to chime in here. I think
we're going to keep you on as long as I agree with what you said.
Right. I figured I said something wrong. I was coming on and unable to chime in. As the mayor has said, we've talked about Maine, a very unique situation. And I remember this mayor, maybe even the last two elections for Suzanne Collins, we've had this same feeling, right? How we're feeling now. And she pulls it off, right? She always comes through. Look, I saw her this past weekend at a parade, and I will say, she looked energetic. She was running around, reading.
Where did you see her?
They had released. I didn't see her in person. I saw video coverage of her attending a parade in Maine, right? You know how it is.
We got to make another trip up there.
We do. We kind of we did. I don't want to say we predicted everything where we're at in that race, but we did feel when we went up there, and our audience remembers this. We felt that with Graham Plattner, there did look, people were ready to support him on the left, but we talked about this. We felt if there was more,
what do you think?
They'd be able to take him
out.
out.
You come down on Maine. You think Susan Collins is going to be able to do her old magic?
Look, we're in the business of making predictions, right? It's no fun if we just sit here and say we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's Suzanne Collins pulls through here.
I do too.
Now,
I'll tell you what. Why? I think he's a schmuck candidate.
Bingo.
Well, you listen to him? He's a schmuck.
Right. And now he's only got a couple of months, and the National Democrats seem to have pulled back a little bit, but they may be encouraged by some of these recent numbers, as you talked about, Mayor. So Maine will be one of those states to watch. So we'll be spending some more time up there.
He's been a Republican. He's been a conservative Republican. He's been a moderate Democrat, and now he's basically a Plattner Democrat.
Bingo.
What he is actually a complete nothing, and he sounds a bit of a jackass.
He's a Plattner Democrat.
And there's a reason this guy didn't. He wants
voters. Remember, Plattner won the primary big time.
Yeah, you're telling me
I can see at least a portion of Plattner voters.
No, I mean on issues. I'm not saying he's a womanizer.
I can see a portion of Plattner voters. It might not be a large contingency, but some of these folks that were maybe first-time voters, they may be a little bit upset with the party, what they look at as the party taking out Plattner, and they may not. This Troy guy, they may not come out, right? And that's the key here, I think. The excitement that they were building around Graham Plattner among people that just, some people just don't vote. They've got their lives. I'm not even criticizing them for it, right? He had brought those people in. They may just no longer be interested. They may not be paying attention. And I think that works to Suzanne Collins' benefit. And as the mayor has been saying for weeks now, Suzanne Collins finds a way. She knows something about that state that we don't. And I'm not afraid to say that, right? That's how it is when you come from a state and know it.
Before I take you guys to Michigan, which is your area of expertise.
And we're bringing you here, Mayor, between now and November. We need you here.
Why don't we come down one state to where we are right now? This is a competitive seat. Sununu has run, and tomorrow Sununu and Scott Brown are going to face off, right?
No. Is that tomorrow?
No, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. It's
Oh, sorry. You're talking about the primary. I thought they were going to do a debate. They're not debating though, right? Sununu would probably not.
I don't know why. I think they're both very, very good candidates.
That's in September.
Yeah,
That, I believe it's September 8th.
I think they can beat Pappas. I think so. I don't.
I would agree.
Not. I want to see. It's a little. I think we shouldn't have to make a choice there until we see the primary. But I think there's a good chance that either one of them can pull it off in the general election, because I don't know who's paying, whether it's Sununu or Scott Brown or the Republicans. They've done a pretty good job of a legitimate negative campaign against Pappas. He doesn't stand up. He doesn't stand up for New Hampshire. That a lot of money has, because he's not focused. A lot of money has gone by, and he's just not. He's not a D'Amato or a Schumer.
Right.
At all.
Not many D'Amatos out there. Well, Mayor, what I will say about New Hampshire, and we've talked about this a little bit, and Scott Brown is a friend of yours. He's a great man. He reaches out. He's reached out, I believe, both of our major incidences this past year. I heard from Scott Brown. Strict analysis here. This isn't advocating for anything. I do feel that the NRSC, that's the National Republican Senatorial Committee, came in to put those ads on against Pappas when Sununu put his hat in the ring. I think the National Republican Party sees that last name Sununu as one that can win, even in the most dire of circumstances, right? Some people look at this cycle being tough. I think the National Republican Senatorial Committee did make those ad buys. I don't know. We can look this up.
Ted, bingo. I think that you're right on the money.
Competitive, and they want to take on Pappas, but because their primary is so late, right? I mean, a lot of states, their primary has been done for months. So they've been able to put these attack ads out against their Democrat opponent with months to go. The Senatorial Committee, the National Republican Senatorial Committee understands with the late primary, you have less than 2 months to define your opponent. And so they're getting ahead of it, believing they'll have a good candidate. And we both agree, Scott Brown, good man. He would be a fantastic candidate, but we both know he has some challenges in the state of New Hampshire.
Well, he does, but he's a great candidate. So let's see what happens. Right now, they have New Hampshire as leaning Democrat, and they have Maine as a toss-up. That's the Cook survey. They have it as a toss-up. The other state that they have as a toss-up is Ohio. Now, tell me what you know about Ohio.
A very interesting situation in Ohio. The Democrat Party, probably the smartest move they could do was nominate Sherrod Brown. Of course, he is a former senator in the state. He's considered a friend of the the working class. He's been able to fashion himself as that. Now, in reality, the policies he's pushed is very much against working.
He's a left-wing toady.
Right. But branding matters, and he's been able to kind of come off as, and so the Democrats did the right thing in terms of winning, taking back that seat. Republicans first term appointed Senator John Husted. So that is it's going to be interesting, and the Democrats do see that as another pickup opportunity. I would say Ohio, not to the degree of Florida, though, and Mayor, tell me if I'm wrong, it's been moving more and more Republican in recent cycles. Ohio. And maybe that's a Trump thing, right? Because we saw that in Michigan, some of these Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, where a Republican like President Trump did so well. So I give President Trump a lot of credit for turning this part of the country back to being Republican.
Well, they have it as, believe it or not, toss-up.
Yeah,
but slightly leaning Democrat.
Yeah, and that's Sherrod Brown. He has high name ID. He was a senator before. Again, this isn't me saying he's a champion of the working class, but he's been able to fashion himself as something like that.
Let's compare that to Texas, where they have it leaning Republican.
And I think even prognosticators in that, when it comes to Texas, if to start saying it leans Democrat on any statewide race, right, months out, they're going to be hesitant to do that. And I would like to get more people from Texas on the show, people that know the politics down there, because it's going to be very interesting. Democrats have been they've had this they've had this goal with Texas at least since 2010. I remember back in 2010, 15 years ago. And I think they called it something like, Project 2020 or something. Texas, turn Texas by 2020 or 2030. And I thought that was nuts at the time. But Mayor, look, you remember a time when Texas used to be Democrat? We're going back a ways. John
Yep.
F. Kennedy. Why was John F. Kennedy in Dallas? He was doing a full Texas swing for re-election, wasn't he?
I think that's a pretty I think that's a pretty good analysis they have. I think Texas ultimately will be Republican.
They'll come home and they'll vote for Paxton.
Yeah, I think they'll vote for Paxton, and I think Ohio.
Not to cut you off,
Ohio isn't quite Florida, which is solidly Republican, and the Senate re-election there is likely. In fact, safe.
Knocking on some wood there.
I think Ohio might be Republican enough that we can pull it off. It might be 2 years behind Florida. Unfortunately, we don't have the great governor in Ohio that moved the state over to Republicans the way DeSantis did.
We could, but Mayor, we could, right? Our good friend Vivek Ramaswamy, he's the Republican nominee for governor.
If he wins 2 years from now, the Republican can't. Well, of course, if it's Vance, for sure, but even Marco, that'll be solidly in the Republican column.
Right.
If Vivek wins a governor's race, all you need is a couple of mechanical changes like DeSantis made immediately, and all of a sudden it becomes a Republican stronghold. That's where they want to go.
Especially if Democrats go with somebody like Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom is the Democrat nominee for president in 2028, I think someone like him will have some problems in states like Ohio and Michigan. He may come off as a little bit inauthentic, a little bit too plastic, right?
Well, here's the thing.
Hair, though. He's got very nice hair.
Ted, it's probably going to be a socialist, and I don't know if Gavin Newsom is even socialist enough for the modern Democrat. So how palatable is that in a place like Ohio, Michigan, these other Rust Belt states?
That's exactly right, Stephen. It's a good point. And, you just see someone like Gavin Newsom. But, of course, and I believe he's probably the front runner. I know we're still talking about the Senate for 2026. One thing to keep in mind, whether it's Ohio, Michigan, the top of the ticket will also be a factor. Big gubernatorial races in some of these states. I would say a state like Ohio with Vivek at the top of the ticket going up against Amy Acton, who has ran before. He should be in a good spot, but it'd be interesting to see where they have that gubernatorial race. And of course, the dynamics can be different, right, between a gubernatorial campaign and a Senate race. And I think we're seeing that play out in places like Michigan.
Oh, amen.
But I got to say something about Michigan, Mayor. I'm very upset about this.
You tell me about Michigan, because let me just leave it this way for the people. The races that are the toss-up races, some leaning Republican, some leaning Democrat, but in the toss-up category, not in the safe category, are Texas, Iowa, North Carolina, Michigan, Ohio, Georgia, Maine. Now, I would say those are the ones that are toss-up. Nebraska is leaning Republican pretty strongly, and Kansas is leaning Republican, but they're not yet safe.
Well, and your toss-ups are different degrees of toss-up, right? There's some like real toss-ups, and then there's some that are like, it's a little bit harder, right? Michigan isn't the same level of toss-up as say.
But we lead them on safe states 14-9. In states leaning, they lead us 6-4. And then in pure toss-ups, well, that's another thing. The pure toss-ups.
In pure toss-ups, I guess.
Pure toss-ups are Michigan, Ohio, and believe it or not, Maine. They don't have it leaning either way, but maybe slightly Democrat. So now tell us.
This is Sabato crystal ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go now with Michigan, which I have the two biggest experts on, and then we'll take a break.
Perfect. Ted, you want to join us back in here?
Or do you want to wait?
Oh, so I'm a little bit upset, Mayor. It's not something we would necessarily lead on as Republicans, but the media, right? We have the state of Michigan, big state, big, good black population, the city of Detroit, one of the, big black cities of America. If the Democrat, we've never had a black governor. All right, we've never had a black governor.
Of course, nobody would know that. Nobody would know that. It doesn't matter anymore. Now you have to have an Islamic governor.
But the point being, Mayor, we've never had a black governor. If the Democrat nominee were black, right? The Democrat nominee in Michigan is a white woman, Jocelyn Benson. The Republican nominee, John James, a friend of yours, somebody I've worked extensively with. Again, it's not that we would always push this, but you know how the media would be. If we had if a black man or a black woman were the Democrat nominee for governor in Michigan, we'd hear it every day. Boy, this could be historic. We could have our first black governor in the history of the state. I haven't heard one person, one member of the press corps say anything about this fact since John James has been the nominee. And it's very frustrating, Mayor. And I just wanted to get your thoughts and how do we react to something like that? Because at the same time,
it is a sign of the complete racism of the American press and the Democrat Party and all of whatever they once were, they are complete racists. And think about this, Ted. If there were an Islamic candidate for like Syed, right? If there was an Islamic candidate for governor, man, that you couldn't be able to touch that guy. The guy might have been in rallies to give money to Hamas, and you wouldn't be able to say it. You'd be called Islamophobic if you said it.
By the way, that's happening now, man. Right? You have to be careful with how you attack them now because you don't want to. It's crazy. Like I can't say the guy's name. And you know what? It's the people
I can say his name.
They're racist for making any sort of deducing anything from me saying the guy's name, right? Muhammad El Sayed.
You know him better than I do. Alfalfa Rahman Mohammed Seed.
El Sayed.
Close.
Is that close?
Very close. You were close.
I did the best I could. I'm sorry.
I think you put ramen in there. Oh,
my only point with that is
I know he has Rahman, Mohammed, and Seed. It's Saeed. Is it Seed or Saeed?
Well, now you're getting a pronunciation discussion. But anyway, Stephen, what are your thoughts on this? Because I'm very upset about this. I don't know how
to pronounce it. Is it Syed?
Abdul Rahman Mohammed.
Abdul. Okay. Abdul Rahman Mohammed Saeed.
El Sayed. El Sayed, I don't know if that's acceptable, but it's El Sayed.
Oh, close enough.
Well, I will apologize if I get it wrong, and I'll do it right. Let me try it one more time. It's
close. Abdul Rahman. I think it's one word. Abdul Rahman
Mohammed El Sayed.
El Sayed or El Sayed. I'm not sure if they'd call you out on that, right? It depends on who it is. But remember with Kamala? Oh my goodness! If you got Kamala wrong, I may have just got it wrong. Is it Kamala or Kamala? I think it's Kamala.
Let's talk about this guy. He's big news. He's big news, and is he going to be another guy who gets into the Senate and takes the oath of office on a book that calls for not being friends with Christians and Jews, and ultimately, if you have to, killing them?
Someone did, yeah. Who took the oath of office with
Obama.
Obama, and also the creep in Minnesota.
Probably not.
No.
I don't think Obama actually.
Obama didn't really, though. Did
it's like a Freudian. It's like one of those.
No, Obama didn't use the.
He did not. I mean, that would have been. I would remember that.
Mondani did, and way back.
It was Mondani. Okay, that's right.
Way back, the now Attorney General, who turned his back on $9 billion worth of fraud by Muslims,
Keith Ellison
on the Quran, and the Quran may have required him to do that in certain passages. I mean, realize the Quran still has passages in it that say you shouldn't be friends with Christians and Jews. You should, if you have to, kill them. If you don't have to, you should make them into dhimmi slaves. That Christians that Christians are fraudulent, they're pagans, that Jesus, the whole idea that Jesus was God was a big fraud. So they're swearing on that book. That is, half of it is directly anti all of our values, including Western civilization. It's also been the basis for more killings of Christians and Jews than any other tract I can think of, including Hitler. And indeed, they were allies of Hitler, the conservative Orthodox Arabs. The Grand Mufti of Palestine was one of Hitler's better friends because they agreed on the final solution, which was the elimination of all the Jewish people. Now, everything I'm saying, can't you see it in the things they say? Now, you're going to take a book like that and you're going to take an oath of office to be a public official of the United States of America? We're going to take a short break as you digest that, and we'll be right back. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to a very lively edition of America's Mayor Live, because we have two political activists of the right kind here, and also very intelligent men.
Well, thank you, sir.
Ted, who is somewhere, he's not saying where, he's in some
Michigan,
kind of,
the great state of Michigan.
He's in undercover, he's doing undercover work.
A lot of people asking about you, Mayor. You've got a big.
And then we have Stephen with us, who more often than not is doing the undercover work. It's usually Ted that's talking to Stephen about the undercover. Right now, it's the other way around. So, so let's get to the Senate race now. The governor's race is really, really important. And you know the high regard I have for Congressman.
National audience, I get it. Right.
I spoke during the time of his commencement from West Point.
Amazing.
As a young man, I met his family, and you can't find a finer American than that guy. And if they're giving him a hard time, they're shits.
First time I met the mayor was with John James.
I'm try to do something about that, but right now I want to talk about my other friend, Mike Rogers.
Mike Rogers. He says hello. I saw him the other day. He wants to come on. So
what a great candidate to have against an anti-American. I mean, wow. Now, Saeed is a demonstration of how far the effort has come to destroy America and Western civilization. It's equivalent to what's going on in England, where they're turning counties into places that are run by Sharia law. It's equivalent to what's going on in London with the Muslim mayor of London now. And you should know that Europe, although it's going on, let's put England aside for a minute, it's going on in all of them. Every single one of them has made a stand against any further development of Islam. They have all, against the wishes of the EU, and I'm talking about 6 countries, no more Islamics coming in because they don't want to assimilate, and they're trying to establish a different government. Italy is the strongest. Well, Hungary is the strongest. They don't even have a problem because they've been doing it for 10 years. But Italy is doing it. France is doing it. How about Norway and Sweden and Germany? They're all putting they're building, in Greece, they're building a wall. And it's all very specific. No more Islam. No more Islam because they're not coming in here to help us or integrate. They're coming in to take us over. Now, they recognize it. England doesn't. Do we recognize it yet? And Saeed is part of it. So tell us about Saeed. Tell us his background and what you know about him.
Well, Saeed originally has made noise. He ran against Gretchen Whitmer for governor, and he, was unsuccessful, obviously. And he's had a number of, skeletons to put away in his closet with regard to his work on health issues, euthanizing dogs in kill shelters.
He doesn't like dogs, right?
He definitely doesn't like dogs.
I'm not going to let him near my little Penelope.
Yeah, and then there's numerous examples of people within his orbit saying very anti-American things, things against Thanksgiving, things against, our beloved Mackinac Island in Michigan.
Look, I've been to Mackinac Island twice. I had a great adventure in Mackinac Island that I'll tell you about sometime, but I don't want to get you where I had to spend an extra night in Michigan because when I came back, I missed every plane. But in any event, it was great. I got to see a whole state. And I was with the former U.S. attorney who was running for attorney general. And we had a great time. And I love Mackinac Island. And I went there before I played golf. And I watched everybody enjoying themselves playing golf. And then when I became a golf nut, I wanted to go back, and I never have.
Yeah, well, it's actually a pattern with El Sayed. So another thing that just came out, we had the Woodward.
But what's wrong with Mackinac? Too many white people?
Well, it's too classic Americana, because if you listen to this, so we just had the Woodward Dream Cruise, which is another iconic Michigan event that we have every year. And Mike Rogers did it in a classic red, beautiful American truck, like perfect.
What is it? What is it?
This is our like a dream cruise where they take all the old classic cars and we drive down Woodward Avenue and make a big day of it.
Oh,
and so
my friend Elliot would love that.
I can't remember if it was El Sayed's sister. It was someone within El Sayed's orbit said, "Oh, Mike Rogers reminds me of the Klan in this truck."
Could I take my car?
The Benz, yeah. See, the thing is, the Mercedes wouldn't be quite as popular as, say, like, an old like Dodge.
I'm bringing up some video from the Dream Cruise. So
suppose I put
give me a second here.
Warren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart on my car.
Oh, Mayor, we should bring that to the Dream Cruise.
We got to get a big picture of Warren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart sitting in a car. It was Warren Bacall's car.
Yeah. Oh, we would get taken care of. See, this is what, if you can see this, Mayor. This is what El Sayed was saying. It was reminiscent of the Klan, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, I think he just hates everything that's like reminiscent of classic Americana at this point, and they hate America if they hate something like that, right?
So could you, are you able to put this up for me? Because I want to show Ted this. I found this. I want to know if he saw this online.
Wow.
The evolution of the Democratic Party from pro-slavery to pro-Ku Klux Klan to I don't know what that guy is, hippie, two hippies, to pro-thieves, to pro-drag queens, to now, you know what now?
Yeah, in the 2000s, I guess they were kind of considered the money, you know, the Wall Street guys, maybe more of
the tech Google.
Yeah, the tech Google.
That's like when the Biden family got started.
The 50s, I think that's the communists or the socialists, right? Or maybe they're giving them some credit. Like, look, they were the party of the working man.
No, Ted. There were some like Southern scrappy Democrats, you know, that got jobs at the TVA.
The South was a Democrat party.
Those are the people who wanted to keep the blacks out of public school.
Actually, the first three in those were probably Southern.
That's all these Robert E. Lee statues or whatever statues they want to take down.
Well, how unfair? That's not unfair. That's not unfair. That's not unfair about that. You know, they couldn't get the civil rights bill passed without Dirksen, a guy from Illinois, who because the Southern Democrats were all former members of the Ku Klux Klan, all Biden's good friends who he spoke at and lauded at their death.
And the hood manufacturers were in on it too.
And remember the Democrats were complaining. The Democrats were complaining about all the Confederate statues, you know, a few years ago, and I'm just thinking to myself, why are you yelling at us for? That's your party. Those are your members. Talking up with the Democrat Party establishment. What do you want us to do about it? We were fighting those guys, right? Abe Lincoln. We tried to take them out at the time. So it is quite something. But I love that picture. I'm glad you shared that, Mayor.
I'm gonna keep that.
Oh, we got to keep. We're gonna be using that quite a bit.
Well, I'll say I have some buddies that are Southern Democrats, and they're like kind of racist. Just gonna say, you know, like I'm not like super close with them, but
I don't know, throw that out there. Are then, but it is something that, and it's just again going back to our point, right? If the Democrat candidate for governor right now, the nominee, were a black man or a black woman, boy, would the media be just so excited and so proud of us as a state. Look how close we are to electing a black man or a black woman as governor. It's very historic. And there is there's a historic nature to it. Michigan was home, you know, a lot of black families following the Civil War, Reconstruction, leading into the early 1900s, made their way to Michigan for a better life. And
it meant freedom for a lot of people, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm excited as heck to have our first black governor. This is going to be historic, and I'm proud to be a part of that historic event.
Right, but the media refuses to talk about it. That's all we heard in 2007, 2008, and again when with Barack Obama. And again, there is some excitement around that. But where is it now? And it's just so blatantly obvious what's happening. And I just wonder if there's a way to get that out there.
How about what have you? Do you have some information you want to share with us about the Islamic candidate for the Senate in Michigan?
Yeah. So we have this video. This just came out. Was discovered recently. This is Hassan Piker, Abdul El Sayed's top advisor.
He was his number one surrogate. What is the number one surrogate? It's not an official title. I was, for example, the number one surrogate for John McCain. And with Trump, I was more his internal advisor than his number one surrogate. But for McCain, I was actually designated as the number one surrogate.
Oh, wow. So here we have Hassan Piker, Abdul El Sayed's top number one surrogate, threatening American Jews.
And you want to know why? Because people don't fuck with Israel any longer. And if Jews in America keep putting this idea out there that they are singularly invested in Israel, eventually someone's going to come around and take action, not against the state of Israel, mind you, but against American Jews. And you want to know why? Because people don't fuck with Israel any longer. And if Jews in America keep putting this idea out there that they are singularly invested in Israel, eventually someone's going to come around and take action, not against the state of Israel, mind you, but against American Jews.
Well, this is the constant refrain of Saeed, Mandani, you name it. These people, look, you want to parse words, and I can do that better than anybody. Here's the reality, and stop the bullshit. These people hate the Jewish people. Now, it makes sense. The Orthodox version of their religion teaches them to hate the Jewish people. Forget this crap about the Jews are the children of the book. That went out when Muhammad got kicked out of Medina. When they kicked him out of Medina, his own people, because they thought he was possessed by the devil. He was kicked out by the Arabs, his own tribe of Arabs, the Christians and the Jews. And so when you have these earlier quotations that they love to go back to, intellectually dishonest that they are, that Muhammad said the Jews are, they're Abraham's people, like the Christians and all of this. This is when he was trying to suck them into his fraud. But when they told him, get out of here, get out of here, you're causing too much trouble in Medina. And he went out into the wilderness, he went out into the desert, and he preached or spoke his words to the Bedouin illiterate. They rose up like an army. And now it was hatred of the infidel, the Arab who disagreed, the Christian, the Jew, and now criticism of the religion started. Jews are untrustworthy. You can't trust them. Yes, they may have a great tradition. He didn't fight with the Jewish tradition as much as he did the Christian, but he fought with the Jewish personality, which is at the core of anti-Semitism, isn't it? Now, Christianity, he really fought with the religion. He said Jesus was a good man and a preacher, but the religion is a complete fraud in saying he's the Son of God. The religion is a pagan religion because it has a Trinity. And okay, fine, he disagreed with them, and he decided he was going to convert, not the way Christianity took over a great deal of the world, through preaching and an example of their exemplary behavior, including particularly their willingness to die for their faith. Martyrdom had a great deal to do with the spread of Christianity in both the Roman Empire and in the Eastern world, where you have a lot of orthodoxy now. Even in Northern Africa. However, Muhammad didn't have time for that example of good behavior or martyrdom. He was going to create martyrdom for you. So the answer was no patience. The Jews, the Christians, and his own people who didn't follow him will kill him until they come around. And he started on a campaign of absolute carnage. I'm sorry, that's the religion. What I just told you is history, honest, confirmed for 1,500 years. History. You don't have to go further than my going upstairs and getting down my 3 versions of the Quran and reading it to you, which I've done. So I have no patience for. I know there are people who tell me, don't be so hard on the Muslim religion and don't be. I'm not hard on the Muslim religion. If you want to interpret the religion like many Muslims do, and read that out and make believe it's not there and close your eyes to it, fine. You're not going to kill anybody. You're not going to hurt anybody. You're going to take that first Muhammad, who said a lot of nice things, and you're going to use them, fine. Here's the danger. You use the book that has the shit in it. So anybody who wants to dispute you, like the regime of terror, or Al Qaeda, or ISIS, they got the quotations right in the book. Don't be friends with the Christians and Jews. You can't trust them. Christians are phonies. Jews and Christians, if they can't convert, need to be killed. Then, if they can't be killed, you should get extortion from them. And by the time we come to the final judgment, you guys, if you want to, end up in paradise with all the virgins and stuff, you guys have to get rid of these people. Now, the tragedy is most Muslims do not believe that crap, but a lot do. What does a lot constitute? Enough to be a serious danger to the stability of this world, and enough from their point of view to feel they can challenge Western civilization, which is what they're doing in Europe. And Europe has awakened to it and is throwing them out. What about us? When do we awaken to it? I knew this on the day of September 11, now soon 25 years ago, when Allah Akbar attacked us. I knew from the moment I was informed that a second plane hit the North Tower that we were now part of a 1600 year attempt by certain Islamics, not a majority, but a lot, to destroy my religion, my civilization, my country. And I had absolutely no confusion about it. None. From day one. When Bernie Kerik said a second plane hit the North Tower, both of us said terrorist attack. We didn't have to say the rest. From bin Laden, on behalf of Islam. That's why those people died. When we say remember September 11, we're remembering the Islamic attack on America. That's what we're remembering. And they are continuing now in different ways. And Saeed's candidacy in Michigan is part of that attack. Mondami's mayoralty in New York is part of that attack. A number of those women, what do they call them? The
squad?
The squad, yeah, the squad. A number of them are part of it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when we were looking up who have been sworn in on the Quran, that's who came up. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Zoran, and then Keith Ellison.
I've never sworn anyone in. I swore in probably about 400 people in one way or another as Associate Attorney General, U.S. Attorney, Mayor. You brought a Quran in, I'd have thrown it out. And this is way back before it was a big issue, because I learned this when I was 19 years old. I learned it when I wrote a paper to keep myself eligible for the seminary on comparative religion. And the religion I didn't choose it. The religion I was given to write on was the Islamic religion. And as a young man, I came away completely shocked at what I read in the Quran, except I read it backwards.
And then the priests were even like, slow your roll, man.
No.
I
went to the brother who's an expert on it, Christian brother. And he said, I said, brother, I don't understand this. This isn't a religion. This is a militaristic enterprise. He said, Rudy, yeah. Let me see a paper. I got an A+ on that paper. No, the Christian brothers are not a bunch of sycophants. And it is true, and Stephen hits on something. There is an element in the Catholic Church that sucks up to Islam. Yeah. For example, we give them churches to make into mosques. I don't know. To me, that's a desecration of the church. I know there are Episcopalian churches, Ted and I have been in some of them, that were given over to be discotheques.
Yes, Greece especially.
And there are a lot of Episcopalians that really hate that. And I don't know how I feel about that. I go back and forth about that.
Well, take care of them.
Remember the one we went to? It's now a pizza place. It's kind of been reformed a little. It's a great pizza place.
I like giving churches new life.
But it was a great.
No, I'm with them. Yeah,
a beautiful little Episcopalian.
But the mayor's making a good point, right? There's something about, once it's spent years being used as a place of worship. It's tough.
You have to assume the worst about the discotheque, right? If the discotheque is just a place for kids to go have fun, so what? If the discotheque is a place to go get drugged up and have all kinds of dangerous sex, and then of course it's very anti-Episcopalian, anti-Christian.
Right.
Now, suppose I take a Catholic church or Episcopalian church, right, where these people for generations believed that this was the home of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
Catholics and Episcopalians believe that. Certainly any high church Anglican does.
Right.
Now you take it and you turn it over to a religion that wants to kill you. And that basically says you Christians are fools. Jesus is okay. He's like a minor prophet. He's not God. And it's not his fault. He never claimed to be God. It's his apostles who wrote all these lies about him.
Right.
This is what the Muslim Islamic religion says about us. And then they say, shouldn't be friends with Christians and Jews. What religion outlines who you shouldn't be friends with? I don't know. I can't. Christian religion. I don't know anywhere in Christian teaching, Catholic, Protestant, or whatever you want, where they tell me I can't be friends with somebody, right? I'm pretty sure that isn't true of Buddhists or Confucius or oopity-doopities. But what religion tells you can't be friends with Christians and Jews? It is specifically in the Quran. And the mayor of New York, who is a mayor of a city that has more Christians and Jews than anything else, has taken an oath on a book that says he shouldn't be friends with us. And he acts that way when he doesn't go to the installation of the Archbishop of New York, the first mayor in 150 years to do that. And when he doesn't go to the Israeli Freedom Parade, the first mayor in 70 years not to do that. Sounds like he believes in that book. Now, who has the guts to say that? A few people. And we're going to do the same thing now in Michigan with Syed. I don't know if Syed is worse than Mandami or not. I don't know how much of the truth Mandani tells us, but he's caught in lies all the time, which is okay for him. He's allowed to lie in pursuit of forcing you to be Muslim. Just like the communists are allowed to lie in pursuit of the greater good of communism. The interesting phenomenon about which some good books have been written, and I'll recommend them to you. And it's early yet to really see it like a good historian. How did these two come together? They call it what? The Blue and Red Coalition. Blue stands for I don't know if it's the red is the communist, because they say red for Republicans. I never understood that. I did never like that. Because to me, when I grew up, communists were all reds, the red Chinese, that sort of thing. I don't like that our party is considered red, although look at the beautiful colors in the flag. Maybe we shouldn't allow the colors to be desecrated by those miserable atheistic communists. I don't know. I'm very not important enough to debate colors.
But Mayor, really quick on Mandami and El Sayed. So Mandami can be a little more honest because he's in a place like New York. El Sayed,
what do you mean more on?
he can be a little upfront. New York is a little more to the left, a little more radical, a little more quote unquote progressive.
100%.
And so
if it works in Michigan, we've gone another step.
Well, see, that's the thing, but will it be authentic, right? Is that something that we're going to have to uncover a lot about him, because he does have a lot of skeletons in his closet related to this stuff. But knowing the state of the Michigan electorate, he's going to obviously, and he already is being careful and walking back associations.
Well, he's a smooth operative like Mandami is. He actually, I think, is smarter than Mandami. Smarter, more brain power.
Oh, I agree with that. I would agree with that, Mayor. I think El Sayed's I don't know, smarter, better political operator, and
Mondani
benefited.
Mondani makes a lot of childish, stupid mistakes, which indicates either immaturity or not really very high intelligence. Other guy's a very bright guy. Sayed is.
Well, there's an age difference, right? And one of it, like wisdom, comes with age, and
yeah, true. But sometimes wisdom comes with just what God gave you.
And there is some intellect required to like go through as much schooling as El Sayed
yes,
has.
He's a doctor who never really practiced and hates dogs.
Oh, and his wife's a psychiatrist. Oh my gosh, that must be miserable. So they're probably real.
She's an Islamic psychiatrist.
Exactly.
Ooh, does she wear a?
See, if
I go and say if I go lay down on the couch, right? Does she come in with this thing on and then she says, "What does your parents do to you?"
I think it's her hair. I think she only covers the. I don't know actually.
Does she come in like this? I would get up off the couch and run out like ah. If she walked in with one of those things on and sat down with a little book, you know how psychiatrists have that little book and they sit down on the couch and then you lay down and the first thing they always ask is, "What did your parents do to you?" Because Freud was convinced that parents caused all the problems.
Well, I would just put a nurse under the hood and then just charge what a doctor would charge, and you wouldn't know.
Well, she wore that. I mean, I don't know how I could relate to her.
Well, to each their own. I guess that she's not your doctor, right?
My doctor is not going to wear a veil over her or his face. Sorry. In fact, you're not going to walk in my house with a freaking veil over your face. Veil comes off.
Oh, you would entertain.
No way. No way. 100%. I had dinner once with Erdogan, done by the other Erdogan who was in Hollywood. And I'm sitting there and I see over in the corner the baby table, the children's table. It's a bunch of women with freaking veils on and they're eating like this. One of them was Erdogan's wife. And I said, "What's that?" So that's where the women go. I said, "What?" And I said to both of them, okay, give me the rest. I'm out of here.
Okay.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit there watching this. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. They got to have veils on and I'm sorry.
I still think
if you have a religion that requires you to cover your face, it's not a religion. Okay?
I still think we would show kindness if, say, outside we ran into someone that was having trouble and they were.
Well, these people are richer than me, so I don't have to show kindness.
Okay.
You mean if some poor little woman came up to my door, she had a thing on and she said, "I'm starving, Mr. Giuliani. Could you help me?" I would say yes.
Well,
she said, "But I can't take my veil off if you give me some food and some help." I said, all right. I think let me talk to you a little bit. I'll give you some food. If you're talking about that, fine. But if you're coming as my guest at a dinner with other people where we're going to talk about something important, and you come in and you want to put a veil over yourself, I say, get the F out of here.
Well, most of the time,
what do you have a veil over?
Most of the time,
member of the Ku Klux Klan.
The veiled women would not be a part of the real substantive discussions
they put
anyway.
On a little table like this shit.
Yeah.
Now, how the feminists do not make this a cause shows you how phony the feminist movement writ large in America is. The only real feminists are the women who object to this. The women who have the guts to object to it and object to the Gloria Steinems, which go back to my generation, and the phonies who wanted to use feminism to promote communism and ripping America apart. How can you be a feminist and not spend 90% of your time on Iran until it gets straightened out? Whatever we're doing to women in America is nothing compared to what the Ayatollah has been doing to women in Iran for 47 years, and they haven't said shit.
Amen. Amen.
I'm going to take a short break so I can calm down. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price. The Towers Foundation honors America's greatest heroes. Heroes like the dedicated public servant Josh Bischoff. Josh began his firefighting career as a volunteer and quickly rose through the ranks to become CAL FIRE's assistant chief of tactical air operations. Josh was driven by a deep sense of purpose and a passion for serving others. His leadership earned him great respect across the entire state of California and beyond that, until tragedy struck. And two helicopters collided while fighting a California wildfire. Josh was killed in the crash. He left behind his wonderful wife, Cheryl, and their two children, Derek and Juliana. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation paid the Bischoff family's mortgage immediately, lifting a financial burden and enabling Josh's family to focus on healing after unimaginable loss. Josh's family is committed to honoring his memory by living with the same drive, the same joy, the same patriotism, and the same purpose that he did. Honor and help heroes like Josh and their families who've sacrificed everything. Donate $11 a month. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Well, we're going to catch you up with all the things you need to know about real quick here, because I'm afraid that we've gone off on subjects that are of great interest and necessity to you. First of all, let me tell you why I have this here. This is an icon. I'm a Roman Catholic. That would be my, or sometimes you see a statue of the Virgin Mary here. But this is an icon of our Lord Jesus Christ and several of the angels who live with him in heaven. And this would be typical in a Ukrainian church. And that's why I have it. I happen to particularly love Orthodox icons, even though I'm a Roman Catholic. I think they're magnificent and they're different. They're somewhat different than our meaning Roman Catholic art, which is more similar to this. This would be particularly Italian. This is a cross, and it shows the suffering of our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, you will often see a cross with a silver rendition of Jesus. I reject those crosses. So I'm a real, I believe people should see the suffering of our Savior. And this is okay. This is okay, but there's nothing so far that's been done that in any way exceeds the passion of the Christ. To get an idea of what Jesus went through for you. But there are a lot of ways to interpret Jesus. And in many ways, the Orthodox do it as effectively, sometimes more, than the Roman Catholics, and the Roman Catholics do it also. And I pray every day that they come back together. I really do. There's no, and I know in more than a little bit of detail, the reasons for the break and the continuing reasons for the break. And they're all, Jesus would say, all too human. I know Pope Leo. I know. Not that I talked to him about it when I met him. I know it from reading about him, that I think he would like to see his pontificate bring us together. I really do, because he loves the Greek Orthodox Church. I know that. And I do too, because Archbishop Iakovos was a very close friend of mine. Of all the religious people that I was very close to, Father Judge, my friend Alan Plaka, Archbishop Iakovos is right up there as one of my great religious influences. What a great man. And we'll do a special on Iakovos. Built the Greek church in America. The tariff with Canada, we'll keep up with that and see what happens. I believe Stephen, as a guy who understands, that's going to get negotiated. It's going to get negotiated, largely because we really don't want it and they really don't want it. It's a strategy. I know you have a slightly different view on this. I want you to note that all of the objections to the data centers, although some of them are valid in the sense that they don't have to be exactly where they are. The reality is we're going to need a lot of them to compete with China and to remain the number one power in the world. It relates even to our military ability. There are enormously effective people I respect, who say the military competition is going to be determined by who's ahead on quantum computing, AI, capacity for massive use of energy. You're ahead on that. The other guy may have a bigger army, but you can figure out a way to defeat him pretty easily. So I think the president is trying really as best as he can to get this understood by the American people, including the provision that if you put in a data center as a company, you got to supply the electricity and not hurt the poor people of Kentucky or Michigan or New York or wherever with it. Now, if he needs my help, I'm happy to give it. I was pretty damn good as a mayor in getting New York over NIMBY problems. New York had and these were on much smaller issues, but don't put a homeless shelter, don't do this, don't do that. You got to work with that, but you got to also get the goal accomplished. That's just what I'm talking about in New York is a small version of it, although in the biggest version domestically. We got to get this done in America. It's very hard to do it during an election campaign. We got to get Americans to understand that building data centers is like a Rosie the Riveter during World War II coming to the aid of getting us ready to defeat the Nazis and the Japanese and the Italians who wanted to destroy us. There's a great article in the New York Post. I don't have time to go through it in detail. I'm going to keep it in case I have time to go through it later, showing how the Chinese people are returning to temples. The Chinese people are returning to Christianity too. Stephen and I watched a great movie last night that I recommend to you, Keys of the Kingdom.
Oh, that was nice.
It was a great novel by A.J. Cronin, part fictional, part realistic. And there's a very, very strong core of Christianity. More importantly, which includes people who aren't Christian, of spirituality in China. The more that can be developed, the more that you can see that being developed, that's the answer. The attack that was planned on the New York Capitol, Ted, Stephen, that's getting very complicated now with this Bowie woman. She somehow, Jessica Bowie, who converted to Islam and then started to plan to destroy the New York Capitol. Don't understand why that was her goal. They're not particularly anti-Islamic, by the way. If anything, they're a bunch of toadies. But she did want to eventually move on to much bigger targets. Now, this
shows you the transformation. Well,
so this may not be as the most serious case that we have, in the sense that there are some that came much closer to this happening, including a couple at Brooklyn synagogues and elsewhere from Canada. But it's a very, very important item to study and to take a look at it. How this happens? How does this happen? How does this woman, who seems to be a rather normal woman, turn into a woman who wants to destroy America? She wasn't particularly smart. She wanted to go after the New York State Capitol. You destroy the New York State Capitol, you don't do any damage to Islam. If anything, they probably suck up to Islam. It's about, the New York State Capitol is about as corrupt as the state capitol gets. But what it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What got her to do that? And when you consider, and this you can, the biggest fear that I had not the biggest, but one of the fears that I had during the Biden years, all the people he was letting come in, I knew ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Islamic regime, you go on and on and on with the Islamics who think they're going to take over the world. And don't fool yourself. They think they are. We're going to send every kind of people in here they could to try to further that when they got a chance. So having done that, what do they have ready for us? Because this is an addition to it. This is one they radicalized, I guess, online, right, Ted? Stephen, they radicalized online.
Yeah, well, it's often multifaceted too. But yes, online, that is the MO often.
And she was abusing her child, and so tomorrow, one of the tests is going to be, does Trump get Lindsey Graham's Darlene through? And it's kind of unfortunate that it's put that way. Darlene is a very smart woman. Is she as ready for the Senate as some other people? No. Have we elected people to the Senate that were less ready? Yes. So I understand this. I understand why this is difficult. But I hope and pray they elect her, really, so that Lindsey will calm down in heaven and have somebody he can talk to. Hey, darling. And most of the things he would tell her would be right. Like, let's not take any shit from Iran. Huh? Don't go for the bullshit. I A judge blocked. I don't know where they think they get the right to interfere in immigration. A New York, of course, judge has vacated the Trump administration policy that suspended the processing of visas from 75 countries. Now, U.S. District Judge Jeanette Vargas, who appointed her? Biden. The Biden auto pen appointed her. Set aside the policy Friday as contrary to law and in excess of statutory authority. Secretary of State Marco Rubio exceeded his authority by issuing the policy. Vargas said the policy also undermines the congressional requirement that puts consular officers at the forefront of any visa decision. Wait a second. Biden flunky. The State Department is a creature of the executive branch of the government. The president can change it. He's trying to protect us from what you saw that woman wanted to do to the Capitol. But Judge Jeanette Vargas, an appointee of President Biden, is more in favor of the rights of Islamic terrorists than a protection of American citizens. So people go to Shanghai now to go to temples to pray for career boosts in temples. Xi Jinping, you're screwed. We're going to spend more time on this because this also.
What do you mean by temples exactly?
This is their own native religion, which they're not allowed to practice.
Well, oh my gosh. Can you imagine the oppression of that?
They're not allowed to practice it, but China is one of the strongest growth areas for the Catholic and Protestant religions. Hard to know who's growing faster, but they both are. And it has to be that what the lack that communism leaves in the intelligent human personality from the time of the Greeks to back before that. And people have been asking, and this is why Homer's classics are so brilliant. Why am I here? What put me here? How did I get here? Who started it? How did it start? How's it going to end? Those are a lot bigger questions than the ones that we spend all our time on. And those are questions that go into the category of theology and philosophy, the balance between the two being a very delicate one. And this is what communism wanted to wipe out. Communism wanted to reduce it all to the materialistic, and you're in control of everything. And we're in control of everything. Yeah? And along comes the cyclone and kills everybody. If you can't figure out on this earth from just nature that you are hardly in control of everything, then you're a fool with a very small intellect. These visitors to Shanghai obviously have a much bigger intellect than that. And if they don't get the right answer in the traditional Chinese religions, these people are going to turn to Christianity, and they are in exceedingly large numbers. And that may be eventually the end to Red China. That may be. That's what I pray for. Anti-Semitism is out of control. Jewish hatred is out of control. It's I don't know if I can say it's as bad as it was in Nazi Germany or in Europe in the 1920s and 30s? I don't know. I didn't live then. I just read about it. But it doesn't seem to me it could be much worse than it is. It pops up here, there, everywhere. We had a candidate in the Republican Party who was insanely anti-Semitic. Thank God he got wiped out. But we stand up, we Republicans stand up to it. The Democrats, Chuck Schumer. Oh, and then if the anti-Semitic candidate wins, like Al Sayed, we'll support him. I want to be speaker. You know why? Because he's nothing if he isn't speaker. At least that's how he feels. Chuck Schumer has no self-worth. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a traitor to his people. Well, we're going to spend time on anti-Semitism. And I know you understand the centrality of this to the danger that we're facing. I need to be a little petty for a minute. I find absolutely absurd the actor Mark Ruffalo. I thought he was a silly little sort of feminine kind of actor when they put him in masculine roles. But this guy is a Jew hater. He portrays the Hulk. What kind of Hulk is Mark Ruffalo? But in any event, all he does is spew hatred of the Jewish people. So CNN has banned him. CNN! When you see Mark Ruffalo, say a prayer for him, okay? And don't watch his movies. You'll just encourage him. And they're not good. You're like a little sissy boy. From the first time I saw him, before I knew his political views, I said, because he has an Italian name, I said, God, I wish he weren't Italian. Well, we'll be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we'll see what those primaries are, tomorrow afternoon. We'll see what those primaries are doing. Maybe we'll come back a little later and give you some results. We'll see. We'll see how surprising they are. Please vote for Lindsey Graham's sister. I'm going to say it that way too, because that is her best qualification. God, if genetics has anything to do with quality, wow. Okay. And she's a very smart woman, and we'll learn very quickly. So pray for Israel, pray for the Ukraine. Please, it's their anniversary of freedom. Let it get fulfilled, please. Please, please, please. Let it get fulfilled. Pray for the people of Iran. Pray for us. And give our president the help, the support, and the love that you have bestowed on him and on us. Thank you, God. God bless America! It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze.